Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today for Monday, June 30th. It's Alissa Coram here. The last day of Q2. We are now officially halfway through the year. Can't believe it. And another day of gains in the stock market, and the NASDAQ now with quite the win streak. And joining me now to break down the action of today's session is my colleague, Justin Nielsen. Justin, what do you have for us today?
Yeah, I mean, these markets just don't want to stop. Forget about the new highs. It's like new highs every day now. But we'll talk about a couple of stocks that are still setting up and looking interesting, including Honeywell and Dollar General and Mosaic. So the ticker symbols on those are HON, DG, and MOS.
Thanks for that, Justin. We'll get to those stocks, but first, let's take a closer look at the action of the major indexes today. So I mentioned the win streak for the NASDAQ here, now up 6 days in a row, and this comes after that breakout last week. Two new all-time highs for the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. Today's gain of about 0.5% by sessions close. The S&P 500 also up 0.5% on the day. Meanwhile, the Dow up 0.6% and headed into the final stretch, the Russell on pace for a gain of about 0.3%. So what do you make of this can't stop, won't stop market, Justin?
I mean, it's great if you're in it, and if you're not, then you're kind of outside looking
You're
in.
missing out.
And look, this is something that has been very strong in terms of um, certainly the large mega cap companies. I mean, we're seeing a lot of that. You look at FNGS, for instance,
Right.
and there's a lot of strength there. You can kind of see, oh well, that looks very similar to the Nasdaq, of course, because the market cap weighting puts FNGS, those stocks that are in there, kind of are basically the index itself, the NASDAQ composite, about 40% or more of the index. So that's definitely the strength there that's really driving things. But you look at something like a RSPT, which was right up there with XLK. So this is the Sector Spider ETF. The RSPT is the equal weighted version. The XLK is the market cap weighted version. So very heavy on Microsoft and NVIDIA for that one. But the RSPT was right there with it, so it's not like, at least in technology, there's a lot of other stocks that are in there, not just the heavyweights in the market cap. So there is some breadth there. Also, this was our first foray for the Russell 2000 to get back above its 200-day moving average line. It's been a minute since the Russell 2000 has been up there, so that had some participation as well. I mean, it was up mildly, and actually closed in the bottom part of the range. But I think that did still edge it up above the 200-day moving average line, maybe just a fraction. So S&P 500, that also looking very strong. We mentioned last week how this was the quickest recovery from a 15% decline to new highs. The previous record was 90 days back in 1998 with everything that was going on in the fall of 1998. This was a couple days shorter. So a very quick recovery, and it doesn't look like it has any signs of stopping.
All right. Well, it seems like since we're in a power trend, Justin, we're going to continue to try to ride this trend. Now is the time in terms of in a power trend, maybe not starting today, starting last week, hopefully at the turn when we were talking about it in real time, the time to perhaps get aggressive, press on the gas. And in these power trend conditions, that's the best time to consider being on margin. But just because you're aggressive doesn't mean that then you become, careless with your rules, right?
Yeah, you have to be, look, especially when you're trading on margin, it doesn't leave as much room for error, because a lot of people focus on the fact that you can get gains much faster, but you got to remember you can get losses much faster as well. So there is that to consider. And so it's not right for everybody. Look, that's something that kind of belongs for those that have experience, have already demonstrated the discipline to cut their losses, because when you're on margin, you really can't afford to let those losses get out of control.
Okay, moving on, we have some other things that we want to chat about. So, XLF, talk to me about what you're seeing there.
So this is another, besides technology, we've also got the financials that are looking very strong. Goldman Sachs GS was a stock that we had on Swing Trader. We took that off today. I still have a position in that myself. that I've been holding on to for a while. But yeah, this is just another area of strength that has been continuing to really push higher. One of the stocks that we were talking about a while back was also in the banks for KBWB. That's also been showing a lot of strength. We kind of noted a while. This actually came from a YouTube comment. Someone put this on our attention. Rather than KBE, which is really spread out with very small positions, KBWB gets a little bit heavier in the stocks that are acting the best right now, including Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and a host of those banks. So it's good to see, not just technology leading the charge, not just those big caps, but some others as well participating.
All right. And now we want to talk about gold. This is GLD here, up 1.9% today. Sorry, 1.2% today, rather. And what are you seeing here? I do have a position in this, Justin.
Well, it's interesting that we are, below the 50-day moving average line as of last week on Friday, a break below that level. But this is not down and out. I mean, this is a flat base. It's only a depth of 8%. So this is something that I think is well worth watching. GDX, of course, is the gold miners themselves. So that got support at the 50-day moving average line. So I don't know. I don't think it's time to count the gold miners and gold stocks out.
Okay, and thanks to our audience as we work through some technical issues today. We're working on it. All right, Justin, let's talk about some stocks. Let's go to Honeywell, a breakout today.
Yeah, so this is an example of diversified operations. They do a little bit of everything, and this is kind of like your, picture perfect cup with handle. Now, if you take a step back to the weekly, one of the things that is you got to keep in mind, and that's why we like going to the weekly charts, is you have a stock here that hasn't outperformed for a long time. You see that relative strength kind of, a little bit dismal here. So while it does have, decent earnings, single digit growth, on the sales side, it does have a very interesting pattern here. The depth of this cup is only 26%, the handle only 4%. So a nice pattern here, but you got to keep in mind, this is actually like, the ATR, the average true range on this is about the same as SPY. It's not very volatile. So you're probably not going to get big gains out of it, but at the same time, you're probably not going to lose a lot on it either.
Okay, and moving on, next on our list, let's talk about DG. This is Dollar General. We talked about that big move on earnings and then the nice tight action. So this is still setting up here.
Yeah, I'm watching this one closely because that flat action, and Dollar General actually has a history of doing flat action. This is back when we used to do seminars live. We were often using this as our flat base example. And so Dollar General, after this week, or actually one more week, we could be looking at a flat base here. But more importantly, as you said, we've really just kind of gone flat after that big earnings move, and it's letting the 50-day moving average line catch up to it, the 21-day moving average line catch up to it rather than coming down to it. And you look at the weekly chart and you just see such tight action. So that's definitely a big positive. Look, the earnings here are not great. So again, on the fundamental side, a little bit lacking like Honeywell. But sometimes you have these turnaround situations where you see something that has gone from negative growth to now getting a little bit turned around. And you see that in the earnings line on the weekly chart here, a little bit of a the move stopped going down on the earnings line, as looks like it could be coming back on its way up. So that's something that could be very good for this stock. And you've got some other members in the group that have been looking strong. Ollie's is one that we've been mentioning on IBD Live and keeping our eye on. That definitely looks stronger, but Dollar General has that tight action and a potential setup that you could be looking for any day now.
And last on our list, let's check out Mosaic, Justin. A nice move off the lows and now going sideways. That 10-week line catching up to the action.
Yes, another one where you've got a big, strong move, flat action, letting that 10-week moving average line catch up to it. We actually added this onto Swing Trader. I do have a position in this myself. I bought it after the restricted period. A strong move today, and really kind of just got support right around that 21-day moving average line. Broke a little bit of a downtrend here in this last week and a half or so. And, even if you take a look at the 37.69, kind of making a little line there, it's right there at the top of that downtrend, and poised to break through above that. So that's looking interesting as well. Gives you a little diversity. The companies we're talking about today aren't necessarily the ones that we've been talking about. Again, very heavy in the tech, those mega caps. But it just goes to show that there's some other stocks out there that are looking interesting.
Yes, thanks for putting those on our radar. And thanks to everyone for tuning in. Apologies for the echo on our live stream. We're hearing from you all. Not sure why that happened. We, as always, do a pre-show audio check. So we'll get it sorted out and repost the recording if needed. And you can find the clean version coming up shortly at investors.com/videos if needed. We appreciate our YouTube audience as always. We love the interaction with you. So thanks for your patience there. And we also, of course, post the audio as well to the listening platform. So thanks, Justin. Appreciate your thoughts today.
Thank you.
And thanks everyone for tuning in. Like I said, we're going to get the cleaned up version out in a little bit, and we got you covered tomorrow morning on IBD Live, investors.com/IBD Live for all the details on that. We'll see you there. And then we'll also see you right back here tomorrow after the close. One more thing. We also have our Swing Trader Status Update monthly episode coming up tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. So we are looking forward to that. Please join Justin and Mike Webster for that. It's always a good time hearing from them, getting their updated thoughts on portfolio management from a swing trading perspective. So be sure to mark your calendars, and we'll see you there tomorrow. And then we'll see you right back here after the close.